Hello everyone, Cool Cat Terry here, and today I'm going to show you how to fix an oil leak that is common on the M54 and M52tu BMW engines, and it's going to be involving the Vanos line. So if you have this issue and you don't know how to fix it, let me show you how. When it comes to oil leaks, the Vanos line is pretty common. It's either going to leak right here on the banjo bolt or the crimp points, and on mine, my crimp points are what's leaking really badly. So let's go ahead and replace this part. And thankfully, when it comes to oil leaks, this is one of the easiest ones to fix. You'll have to move your air box out of the way, as well as the power steering reservoir. And then it's pretty straightforward from there. So thankfully, it's not a lot of things that will have to get removed. And we'll be able to do this with, minimal tools as well. Let's get this air box taken off. And mine is just held on with one 10mm little nut holding it right there. Some of you might have two here. It really depends on what your car is, but go ahead and take this off. Keep note that on mine, I have this hose line that goes from my radiator across here. So I'll move that out of the way, pull my box out. You won't have to mess with the MAF sensor at all. You'll have these little clips right here that we're going to go ahead and snap off, and we should be able to pull this right out. So I'm going to go ahead and just use a 1/4 inch because that will fit in here nicely. My 3/8 sits out about this far, and I'm banging off of this. So then with your screwdriver, go ahead and just pry that out, one on each side. Super simple. Pop my line off the top here, just like that. Try to pull the MAF sensor part out of here. Let me go ahead and just loosen this here, and that'll loosen it up to where I should be able to just pull this all out. Okay, so I have that part disconnected. There we go. All right, you know what? It wants to stay on. I'll just unplug the electrical from my MAF, and we're getting this out of here. I don't want to be struggling this much for that. And then just try to clear this one cable that I have and pull it out. All right, now you'll have a lot more room to work over in this side now that that air box is out of the way. And now we're going to go ahead and move the power steering reservoir, and we'll set it over here in this space that we just made. And this one is going to be held in by two 13mm bolts. We got the one here and the one right there. Just be careful not to fully tip this because it might leak a little bit. So you might notice the purge valve sensor is right back here, so you might bump into that a little bit. I'm just going to hold this with one hand just to make sure it doesn't fall. Just grab a magnet. There we go. Makes your life so much easier just having a magnet. Alright. Then we can pull this out like this and just kind of set it off to the side so we can have some room to maneuver here. I'm going to get some paper towels just in case there's a little spillage. I'll be good, and then that way I can move it further over. Mine looks like mine's zip tied down here, so it's keeping this from going all the way over. You shouldn't have that. Alright, it's going to be a little hard to see. I'm going to use my magnet as a pointer. Right where you can see the end of my magnet, that's the other end of your Vanos line right there. And you can see mine is covered in oil. Now, depending on your situation, There are some sensors and things back here that you could unplug if you need to get a little bit more room for your hands to get back in here. I'm going to try to do this as minimalistically as possible. I don't like having them remove stuff. So first things first, we got to start with the banjo bolt right here. We're going to get this one off now. You will not be able to get a socket wrench in here, so you'll have to use a standard wrench. There's just not enough room because you're going to be hitting your hose here, your coolant hose. So you go ahead and you'll get your 19mm wrench, and that'll fit on there perfectly fine, just enough space. And let's go ahead and get that loose. Nice and loose. Be very careful not to hit your fan right here. Don't want to crack that. And some of you might be curious on whether or not you have to drain your oil first. You do not. You might have a little spillage come out, but you do not have to drain the oil before changing this. Go ahead and remove this banjo bolt right here. And this is what you'll have. This is a banjo bolt. It has a hole right here because this bolt is engineered to allow oil to pass through it. You're going to be dealing with 2 washers. So it's very important that you make sure when you take your banjo bolt off, there's going to be the 1 washer right on this end, and then there's going to be another washer most likely stuck on this end. And so I got to go ahead and get mine pried off as well. So there's 2 washers. Make sure you get them both. So, and that's for both banjo bolts. There's 2 washers. So make sure by the time you take both these off that you have 4 washers. You do not reuse these. You're going to want to make sure these get replaced. All right, just to give you a close-up, the bolt sits here, 1 washer here, bolt goes through, washer will be here, most likely stuck right here. This end is now good to go. Now the hard part is reaching down in there and getting the one back there. All right, so if you look straight back here, that's hard to focus, but right here, you'll see all this oil right here on mine. This is where I got to connect to. And like I said, there are a few sensors back there that you can remove if you need to. And one of them is a 2-pin and one's a 3-pin. So you won't have to worry about plugging them into the wrong ones. Right here, there's a sensor right here that could be in your way. So that one will most likely need to get removed. All right, now you can fit a 3/8 drive socket wrench back here. Just make sure you get one with a pretty short handle. You'll still have to probably remove some of the electrical stuff to reach back there if you're going to use a 3/8 drive. There you go. Just barely see. I'm going. Put the socket on right here. All right, I got the socket on, and then you'll be able to get this off. So it fits. And now that I got the socket wrench seated on the nut, the banjo bolt down there, you'll see that even with my short handle, my handle's coming up underneath this plug here. So I'll have to unplug that one as well. So that's a total of 2 connections that you'll have to take off. And then I'll be able to at least move my wrench up and down. So let me take this one off as well. And these you just pinch down and then pull. All right, and then once again, just, peace of mind so you guys can see the one that I took off back here, 2-pin, the one on the back of the alternator, 3-pin. There's no way you can mix these up, folks. All right, so if you've never seen one of these kind of extension wrenches, socket goes on one end, socket wrench goes on the other. This will then be able to reach in that tight spot. Put that on there, and there's a chain on the inside there. And then as you crank your socket wrench, it'll move. You can be able to tighten or loosen on there, and you can go on either side. But it's a nice nifty little tool. I was able to reach down in there with it, and I got the banjo bolt loose with this. Now I should be able to go in there with my hand and crank it out. Now that I was able to use the extension wrench to break the banjo bolt loose, Let me reach in here with my hand and see if I can't get it off. Got it. Okay. So there's the banjo bolt. One washer here. Grab a pick, a 90-degree pick. You'll be able to go back here and fiddle around and make sure there's no washer on there. I don't feel one. Let me pull the line out and see if maybe it's stuck to the line itself. Feed this up. All right, you'll see. So this crimp point down here was leaking. And look at all this sludge. All this oil just building up on here because of this crimp point here was probably leaking too. So I think it might have been a double leak. But there's the old one. Trash. Alright, so we got 2 banjo bolts and I got 3 washers. I'm trying to locate washer number 4. It might still be stuck to the mating surface back here. I'm going to keep feeling around for it. It's possible it could have just fallen off altogether, but I got to be positive that it's not on there. Alright, both banjo bolts are removed and I got all 4 washers. The one was actually not stuck to the mating surface like I had thought it was. It had actually fallen off when I had pulled the whole thing out, which was nice, and it was just laying down in a pool of oil on the engine block. So very fortunate. As long as you find all 4, you're good to go. So now that we got that, we can proceed to putting on the new one. So, go ahead and make sure you order yourself a new line and get yourself some new washers. And we're going to go ahead and reinstall this. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead. I put a little brake parts cleaner on a rag, and what I want to do is I'm just going to make sure that the surfaces are nice and clean, so that way when I go and put the new washers in place, there isn't going to be anything potentially preventing them from sealing good. I don't want any oil leaks. Alright, so I ordered my replacement Vanos line from Auto House AZ. I got the Rain Automotive brand. There's the part number right there. Well, on this one, it literally says 1 piece. So that tells me the line is 1 piece. It actually, this one did come included with the washers. I did not know that. The website also didn't specify that the washers were included, so I ended up buying the washers separately. But this particular one comes with the washers, so this way you guys will now know that. Alright, so there is something you need to take note of. So here's the old original line. This is the part that was in the front. This is straight, and then the part that it actually goes in the back has this little bit of a bend in it. So if you look at your replacement part, this one's got a bend and this one's straight. So just take note of that. Alright, so what I did is I took some brake parts cleaner and I cleaned off the banjo bolts. I wanted to just make sure that I would have it's nice and clean, so when the washer sits here I won't have issues, and I wanted to make sure I didn't have any thick grime inside my threads. Now, once again, one washer will sit right on top of the banjo bolt like that, and then this piece here slides through the bolt, and then your second washer will then sit right on top like that, and then that's how that gets screwed in. Alright, so that's how you reassemble, and just be careful not to drop your washers. Alright, let's go ahead and get this bad boy reattached. I'm going to just hand tighten this one in, and then we'll fiddle with the one in the back. So I just went ahead and I got this on hand tight just to hold it in place while I now fiddle with the back part. Since your hand does fit back here, you're going to have just enough room to feed the banjo bolt through it, and then hold the washer on the opposite end, and then get it in and kind of finger tighten it in. Definitely get it finger tight before you try to get any socket wrenches or anything in there, because you'll have pretty much, I would only try to use the socket wrench just to get it tight, because you don't have much room. So you're gonna have to rely on your hands to get the bolt all the way in. All right, I got it on hand tight. Overall, it's an easy process. It's just tight, confined space, but just enough room for your hand to fit. So we got it all on. Now we just got to tighten it. Now, the torque spec for these banjo bolts is 32 Newton meters, which is about 26.5 foot-pounds, or pound-feet, however you want to say it. But again, you can't get a torque wrench on here without removing stuff. So you're going to have to try to feel it out best you can to get these tight enough. All right. Definitely try not to over tighten, because you'll crack and these will crack. So just be very careful. You want it tight, but don't over tighten it. But yeah, that's about it. Hopefully mine's tight enough, because we have to feel it out. I wish I could use my torque wrench. I really do. Now the tricky part. Get into the one in the back. Hand wrench is seated. Cranking upward as hard as I could. All right, once you got everything tightened up, don't forget to go back and get all of your electrical wires reconnected here. You should have 2. Remember, the one on the alternator was a 3-pin. Plug that back in. Just push it down and slide it in real good. And it's on. I can't pull it off. And then grab my other one right here. And then clamp that one in back there. On that one, the metal little piece you push down is on the bottom. All right. Once all the electrical is reattached, go ahead and reattach the power steering reservoir right back where that's supposed to go. Remember, that was the 13 millimeters. Go ahead and bolt that one back on. All right, go ahead and just get that line back up. It kind of hits the electrical connection here for the purge valve, so you got to try your best to kind of get underneath there. Now, I'm not sure if this was over the top or if it fed underneath. I'll have it go over the top. Just going to get that one started. I'm not going to actually tighten it, because I want to make sure the other one I have room to move to get that lined up. All right, and now that's tight. Go back. I can get this one tight. All right, and then once the power steering housing is tightly put back on, wipe it down if you had any kind of leakage. Thankfully, mine didn't leak at all, so we're good there. If anything had leaked from that down here, get all that cleaned up as well. Mine's good. All you gotta do now is put the air box back in. Now this part can get kind of tricky. You gotta try to get it to maneuver around stuff here. Get the seat back in here without damaging anything. And and slowly rotate it. Like so. Now, mine has like a kickstand on the bottom that has a specific spot it needs to sit in. And then I got to make sure that this gets attached where it needs to go. I want to make sure I get those right first before I get the hose here for the MAF sensor attached. Trying to see if I can find my kickstand. Okay, my kickstand's in the correct location. All right, go ahead and get them. Then you go ahead, once that's in the right orientation, get all your air hoses, MAF sensor, everything back together the way you need it. Reattach the electrical, the MAF sensor here. Let me go ahead and get a screwdriver so I can tighten up the clamp. Make sure that hose is on really good before you clamp it down. All right, that's nice and good. MAF sensor's reattached. I can go ahead and make sure that the air box, make sure the air box is connected right back here for the intake, and then snap this back in place and then bolt it back on here. Make sure it's seated on there, which it is, and then get this back on. Get nice and snug, don't need to over tighten. All right, and then you're done. All you would have to do now is just start the car and look to see if you have any leaks coming out again. And then if you notice like a leak, then go ahead and tighten it a little bit more, and you should be good to go after that. But yeah, just be careful not to over tighten because this will crack. All right, friends, and that's how you go ahead and stop an oil leak by replacing the Vanos line. Hope this was super helpful for you. Go ahead, give the video a like. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. And if you have other friends who like car stuff, go ahead and spread that word of mouth. It's powerful, my friends. And I'll catch you again soon on the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you again soon. Bye.